Making sure all my presenters are able to join. Good. Okay. The usual suspects are here with me. Wonderful. Aminu, I'm only seeing you. I don't know. I think we are expecting Mona to join as well. So we'll give her a minute. In the meantime, I'll welcome you all to the call. It's been a very exciting and really fun initiative to follow over the course of this year. This is our fourth quarter, so we've had a data challenge webinar each of the 4 quarters of the year. It kind of culminates a pretty interesting cycle with lots of sharing and learning. All of that material is available online at the data challenge site. So I hope you've been able to find to locate that and check in with those resources, because we do create these microsites so that we do have a reusable set of resources that we can go back to, that we can develop over time. And so I like to see the traffic going there. I like to see the activity there. It helps us achieve those objectives that we set out at the beginning of this process. Just to reiterate those quickly, as I see a couple more people are joining, we really wanted to make sure that we created a space to to share ideas and learning that's safe, where people can talk openly about challenges that they're having, about successes that they're having, and learn, but also a place where we could get ideas for the types of products and services that we can invest in together, and make the work that we're doing with Primero more effective. So the real focus here is on data usage. I will jump into an introduction, but one of our colleagues is struggling to join right now. And I'm going to have to take a second to send her a new link. If you'll just hold for a second. Fineth, you have, can you hear me, Fineth?
Hi, Robert. I can hear you very clearly. Could you hear
Okay,
me?
good. Yes, I can. What I would like to do is, well, we'll get started. I'll share an agenda, and then when I hand over to you, Fineth, I'll jump on and see if I can get Aleksa a link that works for her. Right now, her Teams link isn't working, and we need her for our presentation. So I'd suggest we get underway now. We're a few minutes into the hour. We've blocked 2 hours for this, but we want to make sure there's lots of time for questions, lots of time for our community to speak. And what we wanted to do is, there we go. Okay, good. Now we're getting people coming on. I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is being recorded. This is going to be published on the Data Challenge site. We do encourage you to use the chat. You can also use the Q&A if you want to raise questions, but it's fine just to do it in the chat unless you want to remain anonymous. So with that, and I think we have everybody with us except for Mona and Aleksa, and I will jump on and get them sorted out as soon as I can. Let's get underway with our agenda. So I'm really excited about this because one of the things that I think we realized early in this process was that I had to make a change here. That we realized that if we include incentives for people to share, this will be a much more interesting process. So we came up with this idea of offering a sort of a prize an award, as it were, for the best demonstration of responsible data usage. And I'm very, very excited today to be sharing the news on that. So the winner of our first annual Primero Data Challenge, and we're going to talk briefly a little bit about what the prize is and how that benefits that team, but also the broader community. That's kind of a fun, exciting way to start. Then we're going to hear from our colleague Aleksa, who works for Open Function, on the packaging of the ONA solution, this ONA Open Function solution that was implemented in Cambodia. One of the key objectives of this whole exercise, this whole initiative, is to make things that are working in other places available to the broader community. And so this is a clear example of something that we can package, that we can make available with clear steps and instructions to other implementations that might benefit from it. Then we're going to hear from our team in Nigeria working with the CPIMS on some really cool data visualization stuff they did. I had a report come across my desk in my inbox, and I took a look at it, and I was really quite impressed by the work that they've done to create data visualizations with the CPIMS data there. So we're going to hear from the team in Nigeria. Then we're going to have a very exciting new product, a new set of services really introduced to us. They're called Magasin. We have a colleague here from UNICEF that's going to walk us through that, explain what it is and how it works and how we might be able to use it. Then we're going to hear from our colleague Marta Passerini, who's working on a new initiative with CPIMS data. This is a piece of research which we're always very interested in. We really need to have, we use a lot of language around digital products being enablers and digital products being drivers for results. Where's the evidence? We need to see clear evidence. And this is a really interesting initiative for 2024 to look at how case management data in the CPIMS can give us an idea about qualitative changes in programs when they're using digital solutions. And then finally, we want to hear from all of you for planning next year's data challenge, what's working, what's not working, what you liked, what you didn't like, and take down some ideas on that so that we can continue this in 2024 and continue to see some of the exciting results that we've had this year. Wonderful. Aleksa's just joining. So that problem looks like it's solved, thank goodness. So with this, I'm going to move into the first agenda point, which is announcing the winner of the first annual Primero Data Challenge. And we went through this process in, oh, is my GIF not going to work? It's supposed to be a GIF. Here you go. We went through a really fun session in Bangkok during our global meeting this year, where we allowed several of the presenters in the data challenge over the course of the year to present to the team and hear from those in the room where they were most inspired. I want to be very clear with everybody that all of the candidates, and even the ones that aren't represented here. So we heard from Abid from the Jordan team talking about how the insights feature is being used for their national implementation. We heard from Fineth and the Cambodia team about the dashboards that they developed and how those have been impactful for their programming. We heard from Megan from International Rescue Committee on the work that the CPIMS team did to, that's a typo, it should be GBB, felt stigma scales. So these are qualitative reports from the actual users of the services and how those recipients of those services felt about the services they received. I think this is a really fascinating area of work that we can dig into more. And then Ali, who I hope is with us, I think he's with us today as well, a really excellent amount of work time and effort that he put into the Power BI dashboards for the Iraq team. So after presenting all of this and debating this and having a pretty exciting voting process, our team in Cambodia came away victorious. So, Fineth, I want to hand over to you. I'm going to. I think you can take the screen if you want. If you want to just share your camera and talk to us, you can also do that. But I want you to share with us a little bit of your experience and how you delivered this, and then of course what you want for your team's award. Over to you, Fineth.
Thank you, Robert. So yeah, as we would like to highly appreciate the Primero team, like the community also that you know you bring the community together either through the data challenge, quarterly data challenge, or in person in Bangkok. So we at the country office really would like to appreciate that, and also for introducing different ideas, like hearing from different standard that we can learn from. I think this is a very powerful community, and also the recognizing of the different effort that we have been doing on the ground to help social worker and also decision maker to improve the result for children. So I would like to thank your team as well as the Primero community team that keep joining and active in the community. So for our experience, I think we have involved in thanks for your team to invite us in the data challenge, and we got inspiration from the Primero Data challenge that we can see the benefit of using the data that we have in Primero to make it more useful. To influence government as well as to help social worker to do their work better. So thank you very much. And thank you, and also for the prize for the team, and very excited. So we have discussed with Mohan the other day, and we also look at the backlog list. And we think that for Cambodian contact, but I think not sure the other contact also can be applied, is the in the system. We think it would be good to have a calculation function that really very super helpful to social worker to actually know they don't need to do a manual calculation. So the system do it for them. I think it will be helping to ensure the quality, to ensure it's not it's correctly calculated, and also save a lot of time. So allow me to show you what it look like in the real system. I think it would be clearer in terms of the ideas. So this is the demo side, right? So normally caseworker, they after they open the case, for they need to start doing the client assessment. So in Cambodia, in the case management, we do two assessment, the client assessment or the children assessment, and also the family assessment. So we have this step in the assessment. So in the client assessment, social worker need to they need to conversation. They need to communicate to children, and also to understand what are different. So let me edit. Yeah, what are the different needs, right? Assessment of need. What are the strengths from the child, right? And also what are the risks that they encounter, difficulty and challenge. So there are certain questions that caseworker need to get information from the child, right? Through his communication with the child. And based on each question, so there are certain question in each assessment domain. So for the client assessment, there are 6 domains, right? You can see here, from education to nutrition and other. And there are certain question that the social worker need to access. And based on the question, the social worker need to give certain score. Like for Cambodia, we have like assessment very poor, score number 1, number 2 poor, number 3 fair, number 4 good. So currently, they need to give score for different question, and in order to come up with the overall scoring for each domain. So in this, they need to do manual calculation. So you can see labor or manual work that they need to do. So they need to, yeah, they need to add up all the score, sum all the score they find from each question, and divide it by the total question that they have the score. So you see, this labor intensive for them to complete all the domain. Hey, and then for each domain that they already identify the scoring from the assessment, they need to also they need to also provide the overall scoring. They need to identify the overall scoring for the client, the overall client or child assessment. And this process is repeated for family assessment as well. So we have 6 domain and the total family scoring. For based on this scoring, they can start in the care plan, right? Based on the child need and strength. Yeah. So this is labor intensive, and we think we can benefit a lot for social worker if we can convert this from manual to the system. They can provide automatic calculation, right? So I think would be great. So yeah, I think this is the request if possible, Robert. So, and we also look at the other option, but I think this is the higher priority for us. And yeah, please let us know if not, then we can also consider other option. But this is the best option that will support. Very, very helpful to social worker. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. So I think that's all. And over to you.
Great. I think that's a fascinating example, actually, of a very field-driven feature request. I'm just gonna put it out to the community here for a minute, because this is something that we wanted to take the opportunity to do is hear from all of you. How many of you on the call today think that this type of a feature that would allow us to pull scoring from multiple fields and essentially do the calculation for that? How many of you think that that would be useful for the work that you're doing? Anybody want to come in or comment on that? Maybe even explain a different way or a different use case that you might use that for? You can fire your name in the chat, or if you want to take the mic, you can also take the mic. I hate to put you on the spot, Ian, but I believe that you have actually implemented something similar to this. Are you able to take the mic, Ian? Oh, okay, I enabled you. I thought I put you as.
So yeah, maybe it's working now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
can you hear
Ian,
me?
I can hear you. I yes, indeed can
Good.
hear you. I was wondering if maybe you could comment on some of the foundational work that you've already done on this.
Yeah. So I mean, we have kind of looked at doing some scoring in the GBV, in the kind of insights that we have on the GBV, the part that we did the scoring on the number of caseworkers and a couple of the other insights that we have there use some scoring. However, what we don't have currently within Primero is a way that can be formally expressed within the UI. So we basically have the calculations that are implemented in the background, but there is no way that we can currently in the UI specify that if this field is 3, for example, then multiply it by 6 and put the output into the next question. That currently doesn't exist. However, many platforms that are related to Primero in our field, for example, Open Data Kit, they have the concept of being able to do calculations on fields, and they can do quite dynamic calculations on fields and pull data in from various areas. But I think just to start simply, we could build on the work that perhaps we've done on the GBV implementation, put the nice UI on it, and then folks could be able to just specify in the UI which calculations would need to be done. Simple arithmetic would be enough to get us going on it. And it would be an extremely useful feature, in my opinion. I'm a software developer. I'm not a field implementer, but I could see definitely the use for something like this. Over to you, Rob.
Thanks for that, Ian. You know, when the field and the software developers agree on something, that's a good sign. So thank you very much. And congratulations again to Fineth and the team in Cambodia for all this really exciting work. If you're interested and you haven't been able to follow this, that's that link that I shared before to the microsite. You can go back and look at the previous editions, the quarterly editions of the data challenge, and you can see Fineth and their team's presentation, the dashboards that they presented. Really exciting stuff. Thanks, Fineth. We will be in touch to further define the requirements for this feature. And when we release it to the rest of the community, we'll call it the Cambodia feature.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Robert.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the first agenda item before we move on? Okay, great. So I am going to now ask Aleksa if she's able. I've given her presenter mode. I hope that she's able to come on, and there she is. Hi, Aleksa. I was hoping you'd be able to join us because I got a little nervous when I saw your message that you couldn't get on Teams. But what we're going to ask our friend Aleksa to do now is first to introduce herself and then talk about how we might package the ONA solution that was one of the factors for Fineth and team winning the data challenge this year, how we can make that available to others, what it takes to actually implement that. And then we can have a few questions from everybody. Maybe Fineth can also comment on some of this as we go. But I'll hand the mic over to you now, Aleksa. Please introduce yourself, and then off you go.
Sounds good. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Aleksa. I'm the head of services at Open Function Group, where we focus on automation and data integration. So some of you I had the pleasure of meeting in Bangkok for the Primero meeting, so nice to see you again. But we've been working with the Primero community over the last 3 or so years on connecting Primero to other systems managed by governments and other stakeholders. And this is enabled by Open Function, a digital public good, an open source software that allows us to automate these connections and these data flows and integrations with other applications. But congratulations to Fineth and the Cambodia team. It's a really elegant solution that they've implemented in Cambodia, and they've done all the hard work in designing and figuring out what the solution looks like and how it works for their stakeholders. But on my screen, can you see my slides?
Yep, your slides are on the screen.
Yep. Okay, cool. I have just what the solution actually looks like under the hood. So for end users, you're collecting data in Primero, and then you might have another set of users that are decision makers, stakeholders, those that are interested in program results, key indicators. Those are people accessing a dashboard. And those are the two interfaces that are visible to users, is Primero and a dashboard. But under the hood, we have to build some infrastructure to kind of automate this regular flow of information from Primero to the dashboard and do it in a way that is secure, complies with your specific data requirements, making sure that we're not pulling any information out of Primero that would be, personally identifiable, sensitive. Really want to make sure that we're kind of summarizing and aggregating information to, yes, enable reporting and monitoring, but of course also protecting the sensitive data that we're capturing in Primero. So to achieve that, we have the Open Function automation layer that can be configured to get information from Primero at whatever frequency you define. This could be, every 5 minutes, real time. It could be every month, as in the case with Cambodia. It could be quarterly. You determine that. And in Open Function, what you do is you define the rules for what data am I extracting and how do I want that data to be formatted and cleaned and prepared for analysis. Then Open Function runs those rules that you've defined according to that schedule you've set up, and it will load that data into a SQL database, which is just like an open source relational database. There are lots of different kinds out there, but a lot of options that we have. And usually these types of databases plug in really nicely to different analytics tools. So in Cambodia, Feneth can comment a little bit more on the dashboarding tool they used and built in collaboration with the ONA team, which I understand was a bit more customized, but was great in meeting the very specific requirements that they had in that country. But a lot of times these databases plug in out of box with other really common reporting tools like Tableau, Power BI. There's lots of open source options out there. Maybe there's already a tool you're using in your country. And so because most of these components, if not all, in some cases, are fully open source, there's an opportunity here to package the solution and almost templatize it. So that way we can make this more readily available to other Primero teams and implementations out there. So Robert, Feneth, anything to comment here?
I think you delivered that very nicely.
Well, I have some questions for the community just to kind of gauge interest and assess whether or not this would be a good fit. So y'all feel free to pipe in if you have any comments, feelings, answers to some of these questions. But one of the things that we're looking at in determining whether we could package this or kind of templatize the solution is understanding at a high level, what are the types of indicators you might be interested in reporting on and monitoring with this type of solution? And something we're on the lookout for is, are there similarities between countries? Because if multiple teams need to report on the same things, we can package a pretty pre-built solution. But if requirements seem to be fairly different across countries, then of course that might be a little different approach that we'll take. So yeah, just wondering, does anyone have, if this looks interesting to your team in your country, any comments on how you might use this and what types of indicators you would be reporting on?
Don't be shy, people. Pop your questions in the chat. Or if you want to raise your hand, I can give you the... All right, Ali. 1 second, Ali. I'm going to make sure that your mic is enabled. Okay, come on in.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Ali, CPIMS Plus System Administrator here in Iraq. So yeah, thank you, Aleksa, for the nice presentation and the clear idea of this platform. What I would suggest for this question is to, as I have seen some dashboards across different contexts, I have seen some common indicators that are like in need in different contexts, and some like specific context-specific indicators as well. So I would recommend going through the different dashboards that we currently have, like for example, the Cambodia, the Iraq dashboard, and any other available live dashboards that you can go through, and maybe through those, it will provide you a good resource for selecting these common indicators.
Fantastic. Thanks for referring that resource. And Ali, I don't know if there's a link or something you can even share in the chat for me to look at later, but that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I'm dropping the Iraq dashboards link
Awesome.
for everyone to see, and for you especially.
I can take that as an action as well, to help sort of consolidate those resources. I see Marta has her hand up. Nice. Marta, go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I may have some background noise because I've got a little helper here today who's sick at home. But just to say, Aleksa, under the case management task force, and this is not just for you, it's for everyone, in terms of programmatic child protection case management indicators, there was a work that was done about 1.5 years ago where we created a long list of these indicators and wanted to create a short list and make these standard, whether someone's using the CPIMS or not. The idea was to have these standard global ones where every country in the world would report on this set of indicators, because we want to be able to build from a case management programmatic perspective a common narrative and all somehow capture at least some of the common elements, right, of the work we do in case management. This is purely on case management. It doesn't look at necessarily indicators on the use of tech, right? We put it on hold because last year we worked on a piece of work called data categorization that basically helped us build a common language on case management and look at a data structure that we could use, again, to be able to build a common set of indicators, but also review the forms we have currently, because there was some issues around, for example, the use of the word child marriage versus early marriage, violence being used instead of abuse. So defining all of it. And all of that is coming to fruition in the next few months. And I we'll bring it to the world because everything is aligning. But I just wanted to flag that because I think making sure that we're linking some of these efforts to the work of the Global Case Management Task Force is important. And yeah, that's it. Over.
Okay, so Marta, that's the Global Case Management Indicators is what it's called.
Yeah, it's under, yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if they're going to call them KPIs or indicators. And then Save the Children is now going to lead that work for the case management task force. So they're going to bring that piece to completion. They're integrated what we did from data categorization into this piece of work, and then we'll ultimately develop a guidance. Now, again, this goes beyond CPIMS because it's also for countries or organizations that use other systems, but it should then be worked into the CPIMS. And what Iraq is doing with Power BI, which I've looked at, has a lot of those indicators already. I mean, most of us are collecting the same things, but to have like one standard approach and making it easier is important. And that's actually also been put into the CPIMS Steering Committee work plan on how to, standardize and coordinate this as well. Again, from kind of what are the indicators, not the tech bit, which we would liaise with Primero and others on. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
I don't know if you can
Any
see
other
it.
hands?
There's another one. There's another hand up from Nebraska. Nebraska, would you like to come in?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. This is Brad Hussein, the NIST system admin. My question is concerning the other platform that can be connected with the Primero. For our context, we're having, I guess, 2-3 partners. Used to be on, used to work on platform like, I guess, Fulcrum and iPhone builders. I think we have colleagues who are now in the on the call, who's working on those 2 different platforms. Because they used to work on this before we launched the Primero. It more meets their own their needs for calculating and measuring the indicators they need to report it. But yes, but because of the limitation with the reporting on the Primero, so they still depend on those platforms till now. My question concerning of the interoperability and the linking between those different platforms with the Primero. Would it be possible, like for our context, to connect those different with the Primero? So that would facilitate their work and let them be able to reach to measure all the indicators that they used to work on and needed from their side. I hope I
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like there's data living in multiple sources or multiple platforms for this potential dashboard. So Nabras, it's an interesting use case and would be happy to chat about it with you more. But in short, you might consider either using a tool like OpenFunction to connect these other platforms with Primero. And that approach might be preferable if it's helpful to have that case information in Primero available for Primero users to use. And that could be really helpful for like case duplicate prevention, for sharing cases, for doing referrals. So one solution would be on the diagram here, on the left side of that Primero icon would be this other platform that maybe then feeds into Primero. Primero kind of aggregates all of this case information and then it feeds into a dashboard. Another option would be if there are very different users, very different workflows, and it's not desired to share actual individual case records with Primero users, you could imagine where this other platform would be sitting kind of parallel to Primero, and both that other platform and Primero could be connected to one database via a tool like OpenFunction. And so the database would be the point of aggregation instead of Primero. And that might be preferable if there's particularly data security or data sharing concerns, because maybe what's happening in the dashboard is just non-personally identifiable information, aggregated information. But the nice thing is with OpenFunction, we can kind of figure out the right architecture and pipeline given your requirements in country. And I think this example opens up a lot of doors, because right now the solution we're talking about packaging is Primero to a dashboard. But later, if your partners have another reporting system they need to send the data to, or another partner's case management system that you want to plug into the solution, with OpenFunction, we have all these ways to plug into other applications. So it doesn't have to just be this linear data pipeline, but you can imagine it like a spoke of a wheel where we can plug in all sorts of applications as well.
Yes.
I hope that helped.
That makes sense. Yeah, and especially like my question I raised because the partner has like in the location in which that partner is implementing is like the main partner for child protection in that location, and it's because of the lack of the service and the referral. So it's more depending on, it's an international NGO doing more internal and external referral within the different departments within the NGO, whether it is like education, the mental health sector, and the other departments within that NGO. In terms of the dashboarding, we are in NES. We are in the early stage of like working on how to connecting with a Power BI by API. We have a very I don't know if I'm using the right word, friction, partners who have very good capacity in information management and that kind of new feature that you that showed us by Primero team about the API. We tested and we are in stages of developing our own dashboard. We are in the early stage, but we think we will do a good progress. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Well, thank you
Nabras.
for sharing.
I'm sorry, Aleksa. I'm just going to do a little time management for us here. We have one more question from Hazem. I know that you're just beginning to get through your presentation and you're already eliciting lots of energetic response. So, Hazem, can we hold your question until Aleksa gets through one or two more of her slides, and then we'll come over to you for your question? I hope that's okay, just for time management. I have enabled your mic, so let's just let Aleksa move on a little bit, and then we'll hear Hazem's question. But Hazem, don't forget your question.
Okay, well then just a couple quick comments and then over to you, Hazem. But I'll post these questions on the Primero community. So if you all are interested in the solution, please look out for my post later today. Would love to hear your feedback on these things, because not only are we interested in what indicators you might be collecting within your respective countries, also interested in what analytics tools. I heard two different teams mention Power BI today. So I'm wondering if that's a solution widely used across Primero teams, or if there are other analysis tools that are, already used in country. Beginning an understanding of that can help us to also think through how we might want to package this. Also, really understanding like who is the user for such a dashboard solution. Like, is this something you're sharing with government stakeholders? Is this something maybe for other in-country teams to manage? So if you all have any information on who we would be designing this for, that can also frame the design and just kind of the features that we might deliver in such a packaging of this. And then lastly, whenever we're taking data out of a system and moving it to another, there's always questions around data security and data compliance. And luckily with, Primero, with a class 1 UNICEF security tool, with open function, a tool that is also designed to kind of help adhere to whatever data security and compliance requirements you have, only pulling out the data that you've signed off on and keeping a full audit trail history of that data as it moves to other systems. We have a lot of flexibility to ensure that we could adhere to those security and compliance requirements, but it would still be really helpful to hear what are those questions or requirements that you have in country. If you were to share this with your stakeholders, what types of questions would you want to be prepared to answer about this type of solution? And if you all would be willing to share your comments and feedback in the community channel, or kind of reach out to us, it would be awesome to gather some more requirements so we can think about what it might actually look like to package this and make it more readily available for folks. So that's all I have to say. There was one quick question in the chat of like how many records we can move from Primero. And really limits aren't a concern. With an open function platform, every time we extract data, we can pull up to a gigabyte of data, which is a lot, but we can always like send multiple requests to pull 5, 10, 20 gigabytes of data if we need to, and move it over to another platform. So really data volumes, data limits aren't a concern. So you have a lot of flexibility here in deciding, what data gets pulled, how much, and where it goes. So that's all I'll say, and feel free to leave additional comments in the chat that I can follow up on the community. But Hazem, over to you for your question.
Yes, thank you, Aleksa, and thank you, Robert. Let me just introduce myself quickly. I'm Hazem. I'm working with the child protection team at headquarters as a data analyst consultant. Aleksa, I just had a question on the first slide. What I understood that OpenFN also automates the ETL process before sending to, for example, the dashboard, which is, for example, Power BI. My quick question is, I know that Power BI, for example, has Power Query. Power Query allows you to connect to different data sources, and it goes through the ETL process and allows for periodic updates for the dashboard. So my question is, how does the OpenFN enhance or complement these already available features that Power Query offers? The question is, why do we need it like as an intermediary step? Is it because of the type of data or the nature of the data that you get through Primero that needs an additional step that probably Power Query doesn't have? Does it need some sort of specific transformation, probably that also Power Query cannot offer? Or so just I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And disclaimer, Hazem, I haven't used Power Query, so I'm not an expert and would actually rely on you to maybe comment on here. But typically where folks like to use Open Function as this middleware tool, there's two main reasons. One is like the ability to query potentially from multiple tables or multiple sources. And for example, if you have multiple Primero instances, or And Nebras said she's got 2 different partners. We want to pull into 2 different systems data into the data warehouse that might be feeding into the dashboard. If there's this complex logic for querying and normalizing the data, I don't know what the limitations are specifically of Power BI's query tool, but Open Functions tool is incredibly robust. We can be hitting multiple APIs, doing all sorts of data formatting, validation, you name it. And so one is just the flexibility and power of making sure that we can normalize, format, and extract the data according to whatever requirements you have. And so if your reporting requirements are quite simple and we just need to pull cases, then maybe if the Power Query Editor in Power BI can connect directly to a to the Primero API, maybe that is a more simple, direct solution. But in the case where there is a lot of data normalization and business logic that needs to happen, Open Function can support that. 2, it's a security thing. Open Function has all of these features to not only automate this querying and formatting and loading data into your system, but it has version control around these queries. So you can see exactly what information is being extracted out of Primero. And if an administrator goes and updates those queries, we can track those changes. It also provides an administrative console for monitoring those transactions. So again, you can see every time a query happens, who's executed that query. Was it automation? Was it a user? What information was synced over into what systems? And depending on who your analysts are, it might not be preferable to give analysts access to the source data in Primero, which could have like really sensitive case information. And therefore, it's preferred to have this automation layer in between that can kind of do this extraction, make sure the data is anonymized, maybe even do some additional kind of cleaning and aggregation before it's handed off to an analyst to do further analysis. Does that answer your question?
It's very
Yeah, it
versatile.
does. Thank you.
And I think to what Nebras was saying before, we are going to have to move on again, folks. We're getting to the hour. So what Nebras' comment was before is in many of the places where we work, there's a very clear reason why we would want Primero to be exchanging data with other systems, especially other government systems. In the case of child protection IMS, we often have these requirements for civil registration, vital statistics, sometimes for specialized service providers, and those systems are going to be varied everywhere we go. One of the things that's most attractive about the solution that Open Function offers is its versatility and how flexible it is, and that you don't have to recreate Primero's APIs every place that you go for every partner system that you want to integrate with. So this is really the most exciting element of it that you've honed in on there. In the follow-up to this, does anybody else have any questions for Aleksa? I could take one more before we move on, but then we do have to move on to stay on schedule. I'm looking in the chat. We have a thumbs up from Hazem. I also just want to thank Aleksa for being such a good partner. Open Function has been a really fantastic partner to us. We have a very clear shared philosophy on what we're trying to do here. And I think Open Function continues to go above and beyond to demonstrate a commitment to the digital public good, to the specific challenges that we've brought to their doorstep with the work that we do. And I'm very grateful for Aleksa taking the time to be with us. Thank you, Aleksa.
Thank you so much, Rob, and everyone for having us. See you on the community.
Yep, I put a link in there to the community. Aleksa did a nice post on Cambodia, and she's active there. So I'd encourage you to also use the support hub. This is a nice way for us to be able to make lots of information available to the broadest group of people that we can. Okay. I'm going to keep moving along here. Our next agenda item, we are going to now hear from the team in Nigeria. Let's do a quick mic check with Aminu. Aminu, you there?
Yes, Robert, I'm here.
Okay. And are you going to share the screen?
Yes, I will share my screen now.
All right. So let's start with some introductions. Tell everybody who you are, what you're doing, what you're working on, and then take it away. Show us what you've been doing in Nigeria. Over to you.
Okay, greetings everyone. My name is Aminu Awasani. I'm the Child Protection Officer Information Management, and I'm supporting the rollout of Child Protection Information Management System in Nigeria. So I've been with the team since around 2017, and I will give you an overview of the work that we've been doing in Nigeria since that time. Let me share my screen. Can Alexa stop sharing? Or
I think you could just take it over. If you just click the share button, you should have it as a presenter. So you should be able to take there you go. All right, we can see your screen now.
Okay, so starting, this is the scope of our conversations. The CPIMS plus operational milestone and transitions 2016 to 2023. So can you still see my screen? I think my network. The power of CPIMS reports and Adobe Illustrator for data analysis, the harmonization of case management tools and validation in Nigeria, and the launch of the Child Protection Research and Information Center. And then the constraints, some constraints are looking ahead to accelerate services for children in Nigeria. So this is our CPIMS journey and 8-year milestone, starting with the interagency legacy version, which was operational in 3 base states. We call them base state: Borno, Adamawa, Yobe. These are the conflict-affected states in Nigeria. So we roll out this the interagency legacy version in 2016 to 2019, and then 2020 we roll out the CPIMS Plus version 1.7 in the same base states. In 2021 to 2022, we roll out the CPIMS Plus version 1.7 in 5 additional states for the project Almajiri and out of school adolescent girls. In 2022, we upgraded from version 1 to version 2, and users in Nigeria reached over 1,500. And the harmonization of case management toolkit was completed in 2022. And then the configuration of the harmonized toolkit in CPIMS Plus after the validation and endorsement meeting with all the taxes commissioners and the Federal Minister of Women Affairs, and then the training plans of 3,500 auxiliary social workers in 24 states from 2023 to 2024. So this is how we moved to scale from 2020 to 2023. So in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, there is this decision by northern state governors to repatriate the Almajiri children. These are children who left their homes, their parents, to acquire Islamic knowledge, in other locations apart from different from their states of origin or their locations of origin. So they were actually children on the street, moving from one place to another, begging for alms, to survive. And then they are one of the key, contributing to spread of the COVID pandemic, the COVID spread of COVID diseases. So the government decided to repatriate these children back to their states of origin. So the UNICEF supported the government efforts in the family tracing and reunification of these Almajiri children back to their states of origin in 11 states. So we helped them develop a COBO form for data, because then we haven't started using the CPIMS Plus. So we use the Kobo tool for data collection. We provide online training because of limited movement then. So we train about 600 case workers and we supported the reunification and documentation of over 13,400 Almajiri children back to their states of origin and with their families. But then, as time goes on, we realize the limitation of Kobo tool for case management, challenges with editing and follow-up, data security and confidentiality because of the general credentials of Kobo, one username and password for over 200 people. So there is that issue of security and confidentiality and no opportunity for data sharing, referrals, transfer, lack of role-based access control, it's only one username and password for all. So we speed up the rollout of CPIMS Plus version 1 in the conflict affected states, and the UK NATCOM support the integration of this Almajiri or children in stress situations in 5 states of Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, and Sokoto, providing integration services including access to education, livelihood skills, cash assistance, counseling, and psychosocial support, etc. And then at the cost of this service provision verification, we identify a huge caseload of this Almajiri and out of school children in these 5 states. So we identify over 2 million caseload, with the numbers, their location, and so on. So the state government solicited the support of UNICEF to verify and document these children. But then UNICEF said they have to verify, do a caseload verification and verify if these children are really in the locations they are mentioned. So UNICEF supported with data cleaning. They already have the data in Excel. So we supported with data cleaning, analysis, gender and age disaggregations, location disaggregations, and then we developed macro plans on how, to do the caseload verification. And we support with identification of auxiliary social workers, and then we roll out the CPIMS Plus version 1 in non-conflict settings in these 5 states: Jigawa, Katsina, Kano, Kaduna, Sokoto. And then we initiated the signing of 2 OUs, information sharing protocols, training of caseworkers and field deployment, technical support through the verification throughout the verification process, data cleaning, analysis, and report. And then in 2022, we completed the 3. In 2021, we were able to do only 1 state, Kaduna. In 2022, we moved to the other 4 states, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, and Sokoto, and completed the verification exercise and verified and documented over 1 million cases of Almajiri and out of school adolescent girls, and then support the development. Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Aminu.
Okay.
You need to speed it along a little bit though. There's a lot of material on that slide, and we want to get to your dashboards.
Okay. So up to the so let me just go. So actually, all of our data, we use the Primero reports and Adobe Illustrator, data intake to case registration and initial assessment, data cleaning of all the mandatory fields, report creation, report customization by editing and adding filters to existing reports, downloading of these customized reports in CSV format, data analysis using the Excel and infographics design using Adobe Illustrator. So this is the situation analysis of children out of family care, the Almajiri, based on the contributing factors to this child risk deprivations. So this is the data, the summary data of all the 5 states, their locations, where they are, countries of origins, their states of origin, their local government of origins, and then the total number of girls and boys, the total number of caseworkers trained, and then the age disaggregations, the school enrollment status, the care arrangement of these children, the needs, major needs identified, the birth registration status, and so on. So this is the summary for the 5 states, but we have the data disaggregations, like this is Kano. We have the disaggregations of this data up to the local government level for Almajiri boys, and then the out-of-school adolescent girls, their location, their countries, and then where they are residing, their age disaggregation, their needs, and their care arrangement. So this is Katsina, Jigawa, Sokoto, Kaduna, and then the integrated policy and multi-sectoral response to children out of family care. I'm back. The development of gender transformative actions. Sorry, I just caught up, but I'm back. Transformative action to address situation of out-of-school adolescent girls. The community-based multipurpose service hub. This is an initiative being piloted in Sokoto. The community are the ones who provided the place, the location of the service hub, and they will provide security, so there is that sustainability, and they will be able to facilitate this service provision, interagency service provision for children. So I think by first quarter of 2024, this center in Sokoto will be ready, and we will monitor its impact on children and maybe roll out in other locations. So this is collaboration with other sectors and platforms, the genuine platform, the private partnership, the education sector, the education colleagues, even internal colleagues, education sector, they are supporting about 50,000 children out of this caseload in Katsina, Sokoto, and Jigawa states. So there is that multi-sectoral collaboration for service provision, the social SBC, for social mobilization and community-based outreach, social protection for advocacy for enrollment of this vulnerable household into state social safety net cash transfer, and the health nutrition sections as well. So we have some constraints like the mapping of agencies to location. So in our instance, the agencies are not mapped to location. So if we want to know how many agencies are working or organizations are working in social location, we cannot know, because when you are creating the agency, there is no place where you map that agency to location. I will have a lot of organization agencies, using this system. So when you want to analyze the summary of cases by agency, by location, it becomes somehow difficult sometimes. So we want that to be included, and then limited privilege to customize the dashboard, like the location is only showing the district level summary, but not the state level summary. So we want in the dashboard to be seeing the admin 2, admin 1, 2, at least 2 level of locations, not 1, because district, we have over 700 district in Nigeria. So we will not know this data is for which state. So we want that level of disaggregations in our dashboard. And then the skip logic functionality in subforms. This skip logic is working in forms, but then when we try to use it in subforms, it becomes difficult. So I hope that will be resolved. And we are having strong call from partners on these systems interoperability between the GBBIMS Plus and CPIMS Plus to avoid duplication, of data. So I have already reached out to the GBBIMS coordinator in Nigeria, and we're looking forward. I think the Primero team, the global Primero team, have to support us in this process. And there are some opportunities joint with partnership and governance. public financing, national budget, including this case management, funding allocation, disbursement, accountability, change management, and legal framework. So all this is there because we have in Nigeria, we have the National Data Protection Regulation, which places a legal obligation of data, on data security, integrity, and confidentiality. So luckily enough, CPIMS is consistent with all the regulations of this Nigerian act. So we are good on that. So looking ahead to 2024, we are looking, because all our data analysis now is more of static. We download the data, then we analyze, and so on. So it takes time to do the analysis, and so on. So I'm looking forward to link the Power BI API for live visualizations. I'm just hearing about the Open FN, which will also be good for us. But then wondering how many records can these solutions extract at a time, because we have a huge caseload in Nigeria. And then the interoperability with GBBMS Plus, how we can take that forward. And we are looking forward to having a J4C model for Nigeria. We're in touch with Mamadou, who is supporting us on that. And then we're planning to roll out the CPIMS Plus in 10 additional states in Nigeria. So currently, CPIMS Plus is operational in 14 states out of 37 states in Nigeria, and we are looking forward to, roll out in 10 additional states next year. Because there was a technical validation workshop for the endorsement of the harmonized case management tools for vulnerable children in Nigeria, which happens in October 2023. Which all the 36 state Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development and the Federal Minister of Women Affairs signed, the commitment to fully implement the integrated case management tools for vulnerable children in Nigeria. So that's why we are moving to scale. We are moving to cover all the 36 states so that children can get services, easily through this platform. And then on 27th November, 2023, we launched and commissioned the Child Protection Research and Information Center, which was domiciled in the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. So this center will be a hub for research and information management for vulnerable children in Nigeria. Case workers, data managers, our research scientists will be recruited to support this center in the coming months. So I think that's all from our side. Thank you.
It's a truly extraordinary journey that you just presented to us in a very, very big, very populous country, very complex context to work in as well. I know that the work started in the Northeast, and it's really an impressive journey to scale. I think we should try to write up some of this in a communications piece, because it really is something quite exceptional. And I'm very, very impressed by the presentation and just some of the graphics that you've been using. So I have some questions about that, but let's open the floor up to the folks on the call to hear questions for Aminu and for the Nigeria team, specifically focusing on the data usage from the CPIMS, which is quite an impressive demonstration. Any questions from folks on the call? Please let me know and pop your name in the chat or put your hand up, and I can enable your microphone for you. Questions for Aminu, folks? I see a question from Feneth. I don't know if Feneth's still on. It's quite late in Cambodia now. Could you please share the harmonization and case management toolkits with us? We're interested to learn from the supervision toolkit and the monitoring toolkit. Aminu, is that something you can share with everyone?
Yes, Robert, I can share that since it has been validated and, approved. I can share that.
Excellent. Yeah, we can put that all together and make it available on the Data Challenge microsite. Thank you for that question, Fineth. These are the kinds of things that we would like to see more people tapping into these resources. Any other questions from colleagues? Vanessa also asking how you come to partnerships with the private sector. Aminu, is that something you can speak about?
Yeah, actually, that partnership mostly come through our innovation manager, our innovation, not section, but unit. So they are the one who facilitate this private sector partnership, especially in terms of digital skills, internet service provision for these children and so on. So it's usually coming from the innovation sectors, GNU, so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a country office that is quite famous for that it's very good at generating interest in the programs, lots of innovation work. Maybe I'll ask a quick question about just your presentation. Is this Adobe Illustrator that you've been using for some of the graphic slides, some of the different templates that you use there, Aminu?
Yes, it's Adobe Illustrator.
Adobe Illustrator.
But some of the graphics, are there online. It's just for you to edit and make use of them. Yeah.
And for the mapping, for like the GIS.
Yeah, we use QGIS and ArcGIS.
ArcGIS. And is that you that's doing that?
Yes.
The man has some skills. Nebraska's asking, do you depend on a huge Excel database in order to render those?
Hello?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
We had another question from Nebraska asking, do you depend on a huge Excel database for your visualizations?
Yes, actually, the reports, you can export the reports in CSV format. So what I do for each data set that I want to analyze, I just create a sheet and then I put all the data there. Then I do the analysis and then transform it to Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
So that's taking a lot of time.
Yes, that's very time consuming, isn't it? It's also it's good information for us to share with others, because if through investments in Primero we can make that easier for people to do, then we can look at doing that, right? If it's something that a lot of people are using Illustrator. I know for Illustrator there's some constraints around the license, that not everybody can afford that license. You're using a paid version, right?
Yeah, it's paid version.
Yeah. But it would be interesting to understand your process a little bit more. I can take that as a note, and we can look at Adobe Illustrator, because they're very nice looking slides that you've put together here. Okay, I'll give one more minute for anybody else who wants to ask some questions to Aminu. I think it's in terms of the scope that we're talking about. This is really, really exciting to see how the CPIMS is scaling so well in Nigeria now, and that you're able to draw so many insights from the CPIMS data that support all sorts of the reporting across all these different indicators. I think that's really exciting. You can keep chatter going in the chat. That's fine. Aminu's with us. It is 1:15 now, so in order to stay on track, I would like to keep moving, but Aminu's not going anywhere. We can continue to ask him questions in the chat. I do want to move to the next segment of the agenda. Thank you very much, Aminu. It's very impressive work. The minute I saw it, I knew that we had to get you on the data challenge to share this with folks. Please share your presentation with us so we can put it on the site and people can see this example of excellent data usage. Thank you for coming and joining us, Aleksa. I see you in the chat there. And thank you for sharing your email. I am going to pass the mic now to Juan, who's joining us from our ICTD UNICEF team in Nairobi in the Digital Center of Excellence. I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself and to give us a walkthrough of this exciting new product and services called Magasin. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, thank you, Robert, for inviting us to be able to present Magasin. That is a new product in which we are working and that will be released as an open source version early next year. So let me share my screen with the presentation, and I will move to presentation mode. Okay, so today I'm going to present Magasin, that is a cloud-native end-to-end data science AI ML platform. And before going to what is this and why are we working on this, let me introduce what is the Digital Center of Excellence. We are part of UNICEF ICTD, that is the Information, Communication and Technology Division. And we are a new area within the organization that depends directly from the director. And our focus is, compared with the traditional area of work of ICTD that has been the enterprise systems, we are focused on technology for development. And we are focusing on increasing the scale and sustainability of products and T4D interventions. We also develop guidance. For example, we are working now on the technology playbook. It's something that is being held on the Data Center of Excellence. Just to give you a couple of examples of products that are also under our roof. One is Oki app, that is period tracker that has privacy included. And then the other one is probably for all the UNICEF country offices, Rapid Pro, which is used across 130 offices in UNICEF. Also, the product management within UNICEF is in Data Center of Excellence. So one of the things that we know for sure is that every organization in the world is facing the same issue with data, and that is that we are collecting data on siloed systems. In our case, we have a lot of enterprise systems that are collecting data. Also, in the case of the governments, that now they are, especially those that are starting to embrace this concept of digital transformation, they are starting to gather in more and more data. And initially, most of this data is in these systems that are siloed. They are working as a unit that is not connected with other systems. So when we think about how we can analyze and manage the data that is being generated, with this siloed approach, we have several challenges. One is the data analysis nightmares, is that there is no a standard way of storing, discovering, and sharing data. And that is, from the responsible data for children point of view, is irresponsible, because first, you cannot discover the data, so you don't know all the data you might be within your organization, and therefore you are not using it. And then that lack of usage is irresponsible. And the other thing that might happen is that because there are no standards on storing and securing the data, is that data breach can happen. And that is the other irresponsibility, is that the misuse of the data. Then what might happen is that for each these siloed systems, the needs of the management is that they need to have some way of analyzing the data. So what might happen is that each silo might start developing its own technology, or creating their own dashboarding system, reinventing the wheel for each of these systems. A few weeks back, we were talking with the CIO of the FAO, and he said that they had internally like 70 systems that they were using. So imagine that if these 70 systems had to build their own dashboarding system without using a standardized or a common approach. And the last thing is that even if you do the analysis of the data, you don't have the overall picture because you need to combine the data from different data sources. So in order to achieve that, you need to have tools that enable the organization to perform this analysis. Then when you go to the marketplace, we find some gaps. The first one is that the leaders of data analysis have a different use case compared with us, because they are optimized for analyzing massive scale data and at a low latency. That means that they are serving you ads, or they are telling you what is the product that is related with what you just saw. Then other things that they are proprietary, so they are either tied to a specific vendor, or they are also specialized for a particular vertical. Then, if you see the image at the bottom, those are the different solutions that you can find in the market in terms of data solutions, or different parts of data solutions. So entering the data analysis world is overwhelming and has a barrier of entry. Each solution you have to do different trade-offs, and it requires a lot of background. And then, as I was saying earlier, if there is a common way of approaching how you analyze the data within an organization, you have fragmentation, and this affects you on how you do the capacity building and how you share the resources, especially in the case of UNICEF, that we move from time to time from one office to the other office, and if in each office we have different tools to analyze the data, it's like you won't be able to take advantage of what you have already learned. And lastly, when we have proprietary solutions in the technology for development world, in which we have to hand over to the governments at some point as part of the initiative, we have to hand over to the government. When we use proprietary solutions, that is not always an option. So that's when we came up with Magasin. Magasin, as I said, is cloud native. That means that initially is to be installed in the cloud, though you can also install it in a laptop. It's end-to-end, and by end-to-end I mean that it starts from gathering the data, ingesting the data. You can store it, and then there are modules for analyzing the data. Basically, is what data scientists do using what is called Jupyter notebooks. That is a way of where they can do their analysis, coding, extracting the data, and cleaning it up, and creating some graphs and getting insights. And then you can also visualize the data. We have a BI tool, open source, that allows you to do something similar to what Power BI does. Also, because it's in the cloud, you can compute, you can use the cloud computing power in order to, when you are analyzing, when you are doing, when you are, for example, creating some kind of machine learning model, you can use the power of the cloud for doing the computing. Just to give a little bit more of detail, one of the, I mean, we are, Magasin is composed by mature open source components. Each component is a mature solution by itself. What we are doing is we are integrating them in one single package, and something similar to what might be a Linux distribution in the operating system world. So one of the tools is a framework to orchestrate, automate, monitor data ingestion. Basically, what this gives you is that when you have to gather the data from different data sources or even from just one data source, and you want to automate that, you want to do it in a regular pace, at some point you will have issues because they have changed the data format, or it turns out that the government has changed the web page, so now the URL is different. So you will have issues, and having a way of monitoring the data, how the data ingestion is performed, is key. Another essential thing is that you might start with something very simple, but it might grow up. And when it grows up, if you don't have a structured way of setting up your ingestion, your pipelines, the way that you gather the data, you will end up with a mess. In our case, this module it allows you to develop. You write Python code that is very flexible and allows you to ingest basically anything that can be connected through a programming language. You can gather it. And the other key element from, especially for you, is the visualization tool. There is one self-service business intelligence and dashboarding tool. Is that it's a Power BI of the open source world that is called Superset. And in our case, our idea is to provide dashboards for tools that are across used across all the country offices through pre-deployed dashboards in the instance of UNICEF of Magasin on our internal version of Magasin. The other components that I was mentioning is that for data scientists, we have what it's called Jupyter Notebooks that allows you to basically to do this analysis coding in Python or R, that allows you to analyze further than just presenting them in a dashboard. That is something that is more recurrent. Indeed, generally what happens is that you start with the analysis of a data scientist that provides you with a few insights, and then what you want to do is you want to reproduce his work in an automated way. That is when the rest of the components come in. Just to give you a high-level architecture of the different components, I won't enter too much in the details, but the idea is that you can start with a very simple or a very low cluster or setup, and then when you need to increase the number of users, you can scale it up. And that is the beauty of Magasin. That is cloud first or cloud oriented, because you can scale it up just by adding more machines, or you can scale it up adding more if one of the components needs to be have more power, you can just increase it. One of the key elements also is that the different components are loosely coupled. What does this mean? Is that, for example, you might have the ingest, that is in our case, is called Daxter. That is the component that comes out of the box. But maybe you want to use open function. Because Magasin is an open architecture, you can just do it. Is that you can install the rest of the components, but you can use open function for your ingestion because it's something that you already use or you already know. Or another case that happens in UNICEF is that in our country offices, we have people that are used to Power BI instead of Superset. So they can consume the data that we store after ingesting it through Daxter. You can consume it from Power BI. Because at the end, it's just a connection that you do with storage. And then just a couple of use cases. The Giga team, for those that don't know, is they are connecting every school in the world to the internet. They have adopted the Magasin architecture for all. They are gathering the data from different governments, from different ISPs, and different formats. So they are using our architecture, and then they are presenting the data in using the visualization tool that is that belongs to Magasin. Then another use case that is streamlining the product data analytics. As I was saying earlier, in UNICEF, we have a lot of products like Primero, eTools, RapidPro, Invent, that is our repository of technology for development initiatives, or Inform, that is a form builder tool. And if for each of them we develop a data analysis capability, then we will be redundancy. We will create redundancy in creating for each of them. I mean, we'll be wasting resources, and also for the product managers like Robert, they won't be able to focus on what the user really need. They will have to use resources just for creating the dashboarding. However, if they use a specialized tool, they allow that to be consumed by tools that are focused, that are especially made to do the analysis. They will release that burden on to other areas, to specialized tools, and they will be able to focus on what really need the real need of their users. Just to show a couple of dashboards. One is for Invent, that we have like 1,500 initiatives, and we have them separated by sector. You can present a map. You can have different indicators. Or for RapidPro, also you can get the information by channel. And this is something that we are piloting with country offices that want to opt in to allow us to gather the data. And during this first quarter of 2024. So just to end up and to move forward to questions is that the data, just a quote, data that is unused are no different from data that were never collected in the first place. This is I would say, one of the principles of the responsible data, that you might be gathering a lot of data, but if you are not making use of it, it's irresponsible. Just to end up, one of the things that Robert and I were chatting the other day was that it would be very interesting if we find a country office that might be willing to test or to use a Magasin that has some resources, that can mobilize some resources and funds to do a POC or to try to use this tool to leverage or to gather insights from the data of Primero. So over to you, and thank you very much.
Very exciting. Very, very cool. And you nailed it with your comment about, product owners and product managers, the last thing that we want to get drawn into is a long development process to build, tools like this that are pretty, versatile and need to be available to a whole variety of products. So I think everybody in our community's heard me say this many times. I am very excited about this, especially the digital public good nature of it. That it's something that's shippable, that governments can take ownership of. That's always a huge factor. Folks, do we have questions for Juan on this interesting new product? There's one in the chat that we can use to get ourselves going. This is from Fineth in Cambodia. She has a few questions, actually. Notion of how much it costs. How friendly is it to non-IT? And so I'll pose 3 for you, Juan, and you can answer them all. And how I guess user-friendly is it for non-technical people? And then is there somewhere we can go to look for guidance and materials?
Well, the cost, that is something that we are trying to have some kind of rate card or a business model similar to what you have in Primero. We will have something we want to have something by the first quarter of the year in terms of costs. Especially, it's more the cost of the platform itself is zero in the sense that you can just set it up. And what we are trying to do is to make it very easy, the setup. That is the current work that we are doing. In terms of how friendly it is for non-technical people, once you have the non-technical people most likely will be working on the BI tool. Once you have the data set, you will be creating your dashboards, and it's similar to Power BI, and it's it's just a drag and drop tool. The other areas are similar to other solutions in which you need to have technical background. To write the pipelines, you need to have technical background, and to administer or to set up the system, you need to have a technical background. Same as for if you have to set up Primero, you need to have some technical background. But yeah, so in general, except the BI tool, the other ones are more for more technical people. Those are the ones that set up the data sets, the data that is going to be consumed by the BI tool.
So there's also the question about the availability of maybe like a sandbox or even some guidance. I've found information on UNICEF SharePoint. Is there any public-facing resource for this?
For UNICEF people, yes, you can access the Superset instance. For the information, we have a SharePoint site. I will share it later. I will share the link on our internal SharePoint site. And early this year, we will release the public site where you will be able to find all the information regarding the different components, and a very easy to install setup even in your computer. The only thing that you require is a little bit of RAM, of memory, but other than that, it's in a few command lines. You will be able to set it up.
Great. So we'll look for that coming soon, and we'll publish that on our microsite as well. There's another question here from Nebraska and Syria asking about, is this Magasin, it's equally useful across sectors? It's not specific to any sector. And is it possible to show a visualization? Well, you did show a couple at the end of your slide presentation there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's cross-sectoral. Indeed, this can be used. It's not very specific even for the humanitarian sector. This can be even used by small, medium organizations or even governments. At the end, it's just an architecture that allows you to gather data from different data sources and represent it in a dashboard, or even to gather insights.
Great. So we'll keep you guys informed as we get information about this that we can share. Another question here from Ian, who's in Brazil. Nice, this is built from open source parts. What does it use for visualization? And on the ingest part, how will it handle failure? Or is that something a developer would need to manage?
I'm not sure if I understand how does it. I mean, you have a monitoring tool in the sense that you have a UI Daxter, that is the component that that we have for ingesting. You can run jobs, and if a job fails, you can just post a message to Teams or Telegram, so you can have those kind of notifications, or even an email. That's very simple. And also, I mean, and the good thing of using Daxter is that it gives you a lot of information about your pipeline, your ingestion. It gives you where it's failed, when it has worked, and even the data you can generate. I mean, is basically for that. It's a framework that helps you a lot with learning where the fails are, and helps you to debug them.
Cool. So great observability. That's interesting. And Ian mentioned about visualization. That's Superset. Ian is the BI tool, the open source BI component for this.
Yeah,
all right.
I will put the links after I stop sharing.
Great. We are nearing the last quarter of an hour of our meeting. We have one more agenda item and then our kind of wrap up. So I want to thank Juan for taking the time to present this to us. Very exciting for me. I think there's just tons of applications for this, and it speaks really to the data usage question about everything it takes to actually make the data actionable, right? From ingestion and properly thinking through what exactly it is we want to represent to representing it visually, and then how we use that to advocate for our programs. Thank you very much, Juan. That's fantastic. I am going to move on to the next item of the agenda, which is a very brief.
Thank you, Robert.
A very brief. Thanks for joining. Very brief notice from Marta Passerini on some exciting new research. Marta, over to you.
Thanks. And I can upload now my slides, right? Yeah. Just put it down.
You should be able to share your screen. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So very quickly, hi everyone. So my name is Marta and I work for UNICEF and HQ on child protection case management and information management for case management. And I work with Robert because I coordinate the CPIMS Steering Committee. And so there's a lot of obviously work I do with the Primero team. Thanks to Robert, we just wanted to highlight something that's happening now. So in coordination with the Case Management Task Force, which is under the Alliance for Child Protection and the Primero team, we're undergoing a desk review and piece of research on the current evidence base for the child protection case management work that we do. We're going to look at refugee context, at IDP context, and missed migration situations. And so what we're trying to do is through this desk review / research, I think we haven't really decided what to call it yet entirely. The consultant has just come on board. Really understand what we've been doing in our child protection case management programming in different contexts. I think we've seen today, and thank you so much everyone for your presentation, so many initiatives that are happening at country level. But what we really want to look at is building a global narrative across 5 to 8 countries. This will depend on how the researcher advises in terms of statistical relevance of the analysis, and build and understand what is the case management work we've been doing? What are the profile of children we've been helping? How many are separated? How many were unaccompanied? How long did it take to open and close a case in a context of this sort versus that sort? So just really looking at that. And what we've decided to do is look at the CPIMS for our data source. So instead of, starting from scratch, we're really going to capitalize on what's already in the CPIMS. The countries below are the ones that were selected by a group of kind of a reference group that was pulled together. We have reached out to all these countries yesterday. Of course, countries can opt out, and we have like a second list that we can reach out to. So some of you have probably received this notice. I'm sure Nigeria has. And a couple others who are attending this call. And then with the researcher that we have just gotten on board, we'll sift through how best to do this. I am not a researcher, and so yeah. So the consultant is going to look at further developing a methodology. We have some ideas that we've put together, but that will be their role. They're going to look at all the data that is coming from the different countries. We've already picked some key data points with this reference group under the case management task force that we want to look at, and that links very much to that conversation on indicators we had earlier on, and how we can then build and really look at these standard indicators. And then one of the things we've asked this person, and I think this links to a lot of the work we're doing. So Ali, I will make sure she speaks to you on about Power BI. Aminu, I think she needs to speak to you too. We have a bit of, a few slots for key informant interviews, is looking at what are the recommendations on what data we should capture from the CPIMS? I'm not sure we can capture everything, but we can capture almost everything that we need to capture in terms of case management. Maybe some of the process indicators would be harder too. And also look at different ways of what other methodologies we need to collect data. So one of the examples I have is Save the Children at the global level is revising the feedback form in terms of satisfaction for case management, and looking at alternative ways of doing that as well, on top of what we have in terms of the case management standard forms and that form specific to that. So really having something that we can give back to countries and can help kind of inform a global approach to data analysis. So some of you will receive this request to help us source anonymous data from your instances. As I said, Nigeria, I know you're there, and a few others that are here today will probably reach the first initial email. I'll be reaching out further to you in the next couple months. The researcher is formally on board, and we'll be doing this through April 2024. If anybody wants to be more actively involved in this process, please reach out to me. We're happy to have more heads around the table. And yeah, that's it. Quick and short. And happy to take questions, but also I know we're tight on time. So if anybody just wants to have a conversation about this or has any concerns, do let me know. Over.
Any thoughts or feedback on this, or offers of support, or desire to cooperate? I certainly feel like we have wonderful potential that's unmet with respect to the evidence that we can produce, and we're going into 2024, so we are officially in the future now. We should be able to articulate and demonstrate evidence better than we currently can, given the number of years that we've been actively working with this. Questions for Marta on the scope or the objectives of this piece of work? You already have a researcher selected, is that right, Marta?
Yeah, she had her contract offered and she'll start any day now. She comes with a wealth of experience with academic, but all institutions, but also the UN and NGOs. And so very practical take on what we do, was very much aware, the social work element that and the examples of where we might have issues with data mining and what is subjective and not subjective, which I think is important, right? Because every caseworker is different. So yeah, she's coming on board any day now. And again, I think some of you I'll reach out to already, but if there's anyone that thinks there's something relevant that they want to share, even if your country was not on the list, of the countries that we're going to request data for, but there's important stuff to consider. Please do reach out. That list obviously comes with a mix of, considerations where we had to balance refugee and non-refugee settings because the funding comes from BPRM, but also looking at different kind of older instances, newer instances, geographical diversity. So you can imagine it was hard to then, come with this short list, because we would ideally want to do it everywhere, but we can't. But do reach out if you want to be involved. I'm very excited about this piece, and I hope it helps us. And then I think from this, there's a lot we do afterwards, right? The research piece is not limited to itself. It's how do we integrate it in our work every day, as Robert was saying.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Very excited to see where this goes, and I think it has great potential. I am going to ask everybody for a quick favor here, and I'm going to have to answer my door. I'm going to submit a poll for everybody here, and you'll see that when this poll comes up, it's just a quick 4 questions. I'd really appreciate it if everybody could respond to those for me. It should be visible to you now. Great. I hope everybody was able to complete that. It's been very exciting and interesting experience with you all this year on the Primero Data Challenge. I look forward to seeing you at the Q1. We'll make sure you all get an invite for that, and we'll close it for today. Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.